Hello and welcome to Raising Those Spirits. I'm Steve,
I'm Sam.
and we're wrapping up spooky season.
That's right. You're listening to this. If you're listening to this on the day it comes out, should be November 1st.
Sh-
Happy post Halloween.
Happy post Halloween, happy discounted Halloween candy day,
Oh, yeah, go get those discounted candy corns.
and just drink some water, soothe your sugar crash.
Yeah, everybody just chill. We're all gonna relax. We're all just gonna, in remember the spooky season for what it was, all those good times. And we're all just gonna start counting down till next year, 365 days till Halloween. Ooh.
But it's always kind of Halloween here.
I mean, in my life, yeah. In my apartment that is covered in skeletons and things.
It will have happened by the time they listen to this episode, but we actually decided to take next week off, the week before Halloween, and we might try and make a midweek trek into Salem.
That's a
Uh,
good idea.
Thinking, middle of the week, it might not be terrible. Uh,
Yeah.
so I'll let you know how that goes, but I'm excited to do my first trip to Salem ever and to do it near Halloween.
Yeah. I definitely say go as early as you can.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
I already mentioned, I was like, we need to be up and out early, maybe take the train in. Sam has walked me through this.
yeah. No, the train is a good way to go. It's stopping somewhere along the commuter rail, picking up a train, and heading in that way. It might be easier for parking, but then you have to deal with getting the train back. Anyway, you're going to let us know how it goes, and we can all plan for next year.
That is correct. Okay, so this week we are doing an episode that is honestly one of the reasons I wanted to do this podcast because it was an excuse to rewatch this movie. Like when we talked about this, I was like, "Oh, we're definitely going to do this movie." And then we talked about doing it for Halloween, and then last year we did a whole different thing for Halloween. And so I'm very excited to have gotten to this finally.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, this was one of the ones that really made an impression on me as a kid. And from reading up on some of the history of this movie, I think I was not the only one who was affected in such a way.
Yes.
But yeah, I've been really looking forward to talking about Ernest Scared Stupid. This is,
Yeah.
I don't want to call it a classic, but it has loomed large in my memory for many years. And this might have been the first time I've actually like sat down and rewatched it as an adult. I think this is the first time I've done that.
This is the first time I think I've seen this in almost 30 years.
Yeah. But we'll get into it. Shall we start off with a fun, spooky holiday?
Sure.
All right. This week I learned about the Haitian holiday of Fête Geta. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. I did look it up, and I think I'm getting it. Fête Geta, which is November 2nd, but it's celebrated all November long in Haiti. And it's kind of like the Haitian Day of the Dead. It's a voodoo festival where people perform rituals to reconnect with their lost family members. It is similar to other festivals of this kind from around the world. There's a lot of celebration in the streets. There's festivals. There's dances. They go into graveyards through processions. They put out big feasts to appease the dead, and they are looking for advice. Kind of, it's a way to get connected with your family who's passed on, to help guide you through life. It's a big fun holiday. It there some of the ways it's celebrated. I was reading about this. Besides offerings of rum and tobacco, you do also see some animal sacrifice, which is I don't know how to feel about it. I guess it's a religion. It's a religious activity as long as it's being done humanely. I think that's all part of the event. Obviously, it's probably it's not different from what we do for animals for food. I don't know. It's funny to think. I was just like, oh, animal sacrifice. It's still a thing that occurs. Kind of the epicenter of this is Port-au-Prince in Haiti. People might celebrate it at in their home areas, but they also like You will see people doing pilgrimages to Port-au-Prince to celebrate the event. Their characters, or not characters, the religious icons of this festival are Papa Geta and Mama Geta, who are kind of the first man and first woman to die in the voodoo religion, who you connect with as part of this holiday. So it is really interesting. It was interesting to read about. I think there's a lot of good information. I only got kind of some surface level info about it. I want to read up on it more, but it's a fascinating one to learn about.
Awesome.
Yeah, I mean, like it seems like a pretty amazing event. It dates back beyond, modern day Haiti. Of course, it goes back to Africa. The traditions that are celebrated in this event are kind of a combination of old African traditions that were brought over by the slaves, a combination with the Christian traditions of the people who enslaved them, and traditions of the natives of Hispaniola, who had their own ancient religions, and that's kind of where that's where voodoo comes from. And it's not just the spooky thing you see in horror movies. Like it's a full active religion in Haiti. So I think it's really important to learn about uh, this religion and these events outside of how we think of them in the United States, where voodoo has become such a I think there's a lot of confusion over what it really is. You think it's just like these like witch traditions, but no, it's a full active religion with its own celebrations and holidays and everything. So it was a really interesting one to read about.
Yeah, we've taken like three separate religions and merged them into one like weird Hollywood version and just call it all
Hmm.
voodoo. And no, that's cool to actually get like an actual insight into it and not
Yeah,
just what James Bond encounters when he runs into voodoo.
yeah, it's not like voodoo dolls and spells and things like that. It's there's a lot more to it. So I think it's good to learn about.
Cool.
Yeah.
And
Anyway, we're mostly here to talk about Ernest Scared Stupid.
what we're drinking.
What are you drinking, Steve?
I am finishing up the last of my pumpkin ales for the season.
Oh, nice.
I'm drinking Rosemary's Baby Scary Good Pumpkin Ale. It is aged in rum barrels with vanilla beans. It is good. It is another one, much like the Warlock I did a few weeks ago, where I think it is best paired with food because it is very complex, especially with the rum barrels and everything. There's still a nice pumpkin taste, but there's a lot going on. It's not, to me, a sipping beer. It is definitely really good to have with a meal, though.
Yeah, sometimes the seasonal beers, especially when we get into the colder seasons, they can be too much on their own.
Yeah.
You need to cut them with something.
And when you do, they're even better. Like, I really, really enjoyed this with. I've had a few of these. I bought a six pack, and I had them with multiple meals, and they enriched every single one. But just sitting there sipping one didn't really do it for me. So, it's
Oh,
still in the stores. I was in the store yesterday and I saw it. So, if that sounds good to you, pick up some Rosemary's Baby while it's still around.
delicious. All right, I'll tell you. Here's the direction I went with my drink choice. It was like, well, there's a lot of dairy in this movie. Dairy is a theme. It's like I wonder if I could find like a yogurt cocktail. Heard of them.
Okay.
I know they exist. So I found a recipe for the Korean yogurt soju cocktail, which, when done properly, is 1 part soju, 1 part Asian yogurt drink, and 1 part lemon lime soda. Now, lemon lime soda I had Sprite. Did not have soju. Looked it up. What I could find online, soju is most similar to vodka of things you would typically have in your house. So I use vodka. Again, I'm off to a pretty bad start.
As usual.
And as usual, this has become a theme. I've decided, like, okay, this is the thing that I do. This is part of my shtick. So this is all shtick. Everybody chill. Um, Asian yogurt drink, I do not have. Because I, don't typically drink yogurt. But, again, reading up online, what I found, I did have some of my daughter's, like, yogurt drinks. This is, we're talking about kids' entertainment. I used one of her little, like, yogurt smoothies that she drinks in the morning. Where that was strawberry raspberry flavored. So it was a vodka, children's yogurt drink, and lemon lime soda. Steve, not that bad. Not that bad. I didn't finish it because it wasn't going to be worth being hung over tomorrow at work.
Did you
Uh,
put it in a blender or anything?
no, I stirred it.
Hmm.
Stirred it. It didn't curdle or anything. It mostly just tasted like the vodka, which was fine. Again, it was drinkable,
I feel like if you had
but
turned
not
this
worth
into like
the effort.
a smoothie, I
I
could
would have
see
needed
it.
more yogurt.
Like, I do a lot of yogurt smoothies, and I have been known to put some rum or something in there. Yeah, no,
It's
I
the
can't.
lemon lime soda. I don't know. All three things, none of those three things, even in the original version, using the proper drinks.
So you just made up a drink.
I mean, I was working off of a guideline.
You know those like paintings
What?
that monks drew of lions back in
Yes.
like medieval times that like just look insane and they're just working off of what was described to them?
But we're still talking about those paintings.
Yeah.
They still exist. I'm a drink pioneer. And well, let's be glad I didn't finish that drink because I'd have been pretty drunk. Because it was like two. I did like because it was the original recipe was by ounces. There was a lot of vodka. Um, couldn't finish it, or I didn't like care to finish it. Yeah, I'll try a real one day,
Okay.
not tomorrow. Anyway, that was my drink. I kind of made up my own new drink. Again, based on a guideline. In line with Ernest Scared Stupid, because there's a dairy theme. I'm gonna try and think ahead a little earlier for the next
Okay.
episode, so I'm not throwing together with what I find in my pantry.
Well, we're
But I
coming up
get
on
a,
the
st- I get a,
holidays.
s- I get a, s- I get a C for effort. I get a C for effort on that one.
We're coming up on the holidays, so you're gonna have the ability to take a few weeks off and just do holiday cocktails,
It's
which
true. I always
you
have
probably
those
have that
eggnog in the
stuff.
house. Oh yeah, I got nutmeg.
Yeah, get some
Got
cranberry juice, get some ginger ale, get some nutmeg. You're good.
yeah. I'm gonna. Maybe I will ask for Christmas for a cocktail book and some good booze. Oh man, Ernest Scared Stupid, 1991.
Was it 91? I thought it was 93.
According to IMDb, which I'm looking
Oh,
at
yeah,
right now, because
91.
91.
Wow. Saw this young. That explains why it was so scary.
Yeah, I definitely remember watching this. I think it was the second place I lived as a kid. So I must have been, yeah, 6. I probably saw this right when it came out on video. I didn't see it in theaters, but I think I saw it right when it came out. Not a lot of people saw this in theaters. It did very poorly.
Well, so we kind of touched on this earlier. So this movie was actually too scary, which is why it did poorly in theaters because it was scaring kids, so people weren't taking their kids to see it.
Good call. These creature effects are really good. And I mean, like the people who did the creature effects in this movie are the people who did
Killer
their biggest thing
Clowns
that they
from
yeah,
Outer
Killer
Space.
Clowns, which is getting a lot of love recently. I think they've got a video game coming out for that.
I went to Spirit Halloween to get my son a costume, and there was an entire Killer Clowns from Outer Space section.
Yeah, they're really pushing it at Spirit Halloween this year. Like they're doing a lot of Killer Clown tie-ins. which
Yeah,
you
it
would have
was
think they would
awesome.
have done a few years ago when like there was that whole clown panic. There remember a couple of years ago there was like a panic of like murderous clowns.
I do because one of the only reasons I still go on Facebook is to check my memories every day and see what happened that day for like the last 17 years.
Oh
And
yeah.
one of my recent posts was like the scariest part about all these like murder clowns is that you never know how many of them could be in a car.
Oh my god, that's such a good point. But the trolls. So to touch briefly upon the plot of this movie, Ernest, our lovable dope, runs afoul of an ancient troll that his ancestor trapped beneath a tree. The evil troll is turning children into tiny wooden statues. Ernest has to stop him before trolls take over the world, I guess. I think that's ultimately their goal is to take over the world or something.
Yeah, if the troll Trantor can successfully sacrifice 5 children and grow his demon army of trolls, they will conquer the world.
Yeah, fair. You know. This troll costume, our main troll, Trantor, you could put that in any horror movie. You could put that in a horror movie today,
Yeah,
and I think those animatronics, that costume holds up. They should never have put that in a movie aimed at small children.
ever. I,
No, because like, how old are the kids in this movie? The kids are probably like supposed to be 11 or 12.
yeah,
I don't
they're
think they're 13 yet.
tweens.
Which means that your primary audience is probably about 4 years younger than them. So that means you're aiming at like 7, 8 year olds. Again, like people who exactly us when this movie came out. I would never show this movie to my kid.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely not. That monster is terrifying. Like I mean, like I was scared of that monster. Like that monster has loomed large in my mind since I was a kid. Like,
Yes.
and it's especially its voice changing ability. It can like sound like the kids it's captured. I guess that's not it because he sounds like Ernest at one point. He can mimic voices.
Any voice he's heard, yeah.
So the combination of like him being able to trick kids using that voice power and turning them into dolls, which I just like is very unsettling. Getting turned into something that is not human is one of the things that unsettles me the most in horror fiction. Like especially like even like Binks the cat, like just the idea of like, oh my god, I'm a human mind in the body of a cat. Like that's terrifying, and to be an animate object, even worse. Beauty and the Beast is the ultimate nightmare for me, I guess. It's so scary. It was too scary.
Yeah, this definitely nurtured a lot of my like weird fear triggers for a long time. Uh for all the same reasons. There's one specific scene. I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself, but the lead girl thinks there's a monster under her bed. And that scene lived with me forever.
Same, exactly the same.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Like I used to watch this movie a lot as a kid, and whenever that was like when that scene was coming, it was like hide behind the couch time. It Yeah, no,
It's
this
too
got me good,
jarring.
but it's also it's an Ernest movie, so it's like super campy, which I think this movie may have sparked my love for like B horror
Oh, that's fair.
because it's scary and goofy and like they flirted with that line really well. Like the troll was terrifying, but was also like involved in a lot of slapstick comedy.
Yeah, if the troll costume wasn't so terrifying, like this is like full on body horror looking thing. Like if that troll wasn't so scary looking and he was like toned way back, like let's say it's just like a human in prosthetics instead of that giant animatronic head and just a little sillier. I think you could have had a real classic. But because it becomes inaccessible to its target audience, that's its problem.
Yeah. All right, so yeah, I guess we start at the beginning.
Yeah, let's start at the beginning.
So
We open with
we open with this very long opening credits.
the yeah, I wasn't even thinking about that. Yeah, the where they intercut Ernest in with a bunch of classic horror movies.
Yes, I actually hadn't thought about most of this movie in 30 years, but as every scene happened, I remembered it like vividly. So this very long opening, like I just remembered viscerally, and it was really cool. But it's also all these, like all the classic old black and white golden age horror movies, and also just watching all of them growing up was fascinating to me. It made me so curious. I had that, and I had a book on like old movie monsters and all the different movies, and I as a kid was like always on the lookout at the library and stuff for these old black and white Creature from the Black Lagoon, the Screaming Brain type of stuff. It just like it helped fascinate me with, again, just the horror.
I think it's a pretty bold move to open your movie, especially with such a long credit sequence of showing better movies.
Yes.
It's just like I'm watching this. I'm like, I could be watching these movies. I could
Yeah,
watch Frankenstein right now instead of Ernest Scared Stupid.
I was thinking that too. I was like, a few of
It's
those I
like,
still haven't seen to
why
this
would you do
day.
this? It's like, oh, look at all these classic horror films. Wouldn't you rather pick that up on VHS? Maybe that's a little too harsh.
No,
Because there are things about this movie that I like, but I don't like it as a kids movie. Um,
yeah, this is not the problem is it is a kids movie. Like
right.
watching it as an adult, I'm like, oh, this is 100% a kids movie. But I would not show it to my kid.
No, no, that's never gonna happen.
Yeah,
But yeah, because it has those slapstick moments. Again, we're not even talking. We veered off the plot again. Um, yeah, too scary. Anyway, opening credit sequence in bad judgment should not show so much of better movies in your not great movie. So
yes.
off to a bad start, Ernest.
So we kind of have a hocus pocus opening where we're starting back in like colonial times.
Yeah, that's true. It was this was before
This was before
Hocus
Hocus
Pocus too.
Pocus.
Trailblazers.
Yeah, so we start off, it's colonial times. The troll has taken four of the children it needs. It's about to capture a fifth, but it turns out it's a trap. And the pilgrims have captured this troll. They bury him in a hole, and they plant a tree on him, and basically do like a spell that like this tree will bind him to the earth, uh, you know, for all eternity. But the troll does, kind of like Hocus Pocus, the counter spell thing where it's like, nope, one of your ancestors is going to release me. And
A pretty solid curse power that he has, because he just kind of like, oh no, I have this curse at the ready if you trap me under a tree.
I mean, it's the same thing with Sleeping Beauty. It's like Maleficent comes in, puts her curse on her, and then the last fairy was like, I'm putting a loophole in. Everything gets a loophole.
Yeah. So here's immediately watching this movie. Here's one of my problems. At the beginning of this movie, because they show how they capture the troll, he goes down like a big chump. I don't understand why he's such a problem to take care of later on in the film.
Yeah.
Like they should have written that down. It's like, oh, here's the key. In case this troll escapes, don't even worry about his weaknesses, because his weakness is a sack. Like get him with a sack and some chains, and like he's done. At least to subdue him. They didn't realize that they need to completely. Again, getting ahead of ourselves. So they need to completely destroy him in order to unwood the children. But like capturing him, that seemed like it was not. Once they knew what they were doing, it wasn't that big of a deal. I don't know why they didn't just write that down so that when the troll wakes up, they have a plan to take care of him. Bad move, Ernest's ancestors.
I mean, maybe they did. Eartha Kitt's character is the only person who seemed to know what was going on. And she did go out hunting for it at one point. Maybe she was just had a net in her bike.
Eartha Kitt. I mean, I love Eartha Kitt. Big fan of Emperor's New Groove. I think that's really one of the most underrated Disney cartoons. She is in her 50s, maybe early. I think she's in her early 60s here. Her character is supposed to be that same little girl from the beginning of the movie.
Yeah, how old is she? Like 400?
She's supposed to be like 100. She's supposed to be like 120. She looks amazing for 120. That made no sense because I was like, wait, is she supposed to be like, even if she was playing in her 80s, even if she was playing 100, and this was supposed to be like 80 years later, I was like, no, but they're in like colonial times at the beginning of the movie.
Yeah,
This doesn't make any sense.
they are full on like pre-revolution America. It's got to be. That's not Civil War times. That's not Civil War garb.
No.
Like,
So even if it's like, let's say it's 100 years, it's 100 years later. Eartha Kitt's character is 112. That means that this is supposed to be the late 1800s. I'm like, why are they? Why are they dressed like they just got off the Mayflower? This doesn't make any sense.
that's what I was saying. I was like, it seems like they even said, they say this troll followed them over from the old world, which implies that they're pilgrims.
Unless it came later, it just yeah. And I don't want to put again. It's a children's movie. I accept that. Like I don't want to put too much like I don't want to like throw too much logic at it. But like that seems like somebody in the writers' room should have gone, "Oh, that doesn't make any sense. Why don't we make her a descendant of this person? Why is Eartha Kitt supposed to be 120?"
Yeah, I had assumed she was just a descendant, and then at the end, it's revealed that she's one of them, and I'm like, that doesn't track.
No. And the preacher at the beginning of the movie, the person who puts the curse on the troll, who is Jim Varney, played by Jim Varney, so playing one of his own ancestors.
I mean,
She says at one point that Ernest is the seventh son of the seventh son, which would make that the preacher, I think, his grandfather.
mm,
Which I don't know. That doesn't seem like it makes any sense. Because the curse is supposed to be again, the curse is supposed to be each subsequent generation of his family is getting dumber and dumber. And if he's the grandson, that means it was like really steep drop offs. Really steep each time.
yeah. No, I think it's been generations. But, we're getting really hung up on this.
Okay, so let's say here's what we're gonna say. Eartha Kitt has witch powers that keep her young. So this was much earlier. It's like the mid 1800s, I guess, post slavery. Oh, wait, where is this? Are they in Missouri? I forget where they are.
I don't
Post
even.
slavery. It doesn't matter. Let's move on. Sorry.
It is Briarville, Missouri, yeah.
Oh, it's Missouri. Okay. Which I believe was.
When did settlers get to Missouri?
We're going to do a whole history lesson on this episode of the podcast.
1776. July 4th, 1776 is when Missouri was settled. That can't be right. The French were there in 1700.
So that makes sense.
Um,
So it was the first English settlers were 1776.
I guess? Or maybe that's just when it was incorporated.
Yeah, we're not historians. I mean, Native Americans were living there before anybody else showed up, so who's to say? It's all really unfair whenever we say, oh, people didn't arrive there until white people arrived.
It looks like 1673.
That's when the first
French showed up.
Europeans arrived in what is now Missouri.
Yeah.
Okay, and none of that matters. We're gonna say that she has some sort of witch powers that keep her, that ages her slowly. So she's 120, but she looks like she's 60. Because it's Eartha Kitt. She just like looked really good for a long time.
Yeah. I feel like they actually
Incredibly beautiful.
uglied her up for this.
They absolutely did. No, it's Eartha Kitt. She's like famously good looking.
Yeah. So we get to modern times We are now 2 minutes into this movie. And Ernest is an idiot. They kind of, the curse is that part of the curse is also that the descendants will get dumber and dumber and dumber, and then he transforms into Ernest. And I mean, if you haven't seen an Ernest movie, I don't know. He's got the mental capacity of what, a 9-year old, a 12-year-old.
Something, but he's also an engineer. Like, he's building a lot of really intricate gadgets. Like, the first time we
He's
see
like a
him,
savant.
he's built some pretty solid, like, trash cleaning equipment. And yeah, it doesn't work right on its first go, but neither does any robot. For the 90s, like for the early 90s, like if he was doing some innovative stuff. I thought what he was building was pretty impressive. He's goofy, sure, and they kind of go with the trope of like, oh, he's dumb, he's a garbage truck, he's a garbage man, which I think is terrible. Garbage. Those are good jobs. Those are very good jobs. He, yeah, he's really able to build stuff. He's quite the engineer because he also laid a little later in the movie he puts that whole treehouse together pretty quickly. So I think we're
They built that treehouse alarmingly fast.
right because he's a brilliant engineer. Like he built them a lot of like also like weaponry for for the treehouse. Getting ahead of ourselves, he he's not dumb. He's just goofy and accident prone.
So, I don't have a lot of notes for a
I took none.
while.
No, it's classic
Um,
Sam.
we meet the kids. We meet Ernest. Ernest helps the kids build a tree house. It happens to be in the tree that they locked the troll under, and Ernest ends up inadvertently freeing the troll.
Like you do.
And it's Halloween, which really doesn't come into play much.
Now, other than doing like, oh, there's a Halloween dance at the school to give them a location to end up at one point.
But they
Also,
could have said that was any dance at the school. You know what I mean? Like it's just like
that's
it was
true.
so they so tangentially tied this to Halloween. But so he releases the troll and immediately gets attacked by it. And I laughed 3 times during this movie. I didn't think I would, but I laughed 3 times, and that was the first time I laughed. Because he's up in the treehouse, and the troll drops down from the tree in front of him, and he says something along the lines of, "Boy, I hope you're from Keebler."
Oh yeah, that was a good line.
And I think I was just like so caught by surprise that like I found something funny at this point, because by this point we're like 30 minutes into it, and it had become a little bit of a drag. But yeah, I actively laughed at that part.
I laughed out loud. I think one time during the movie. It was a bit later when he's he when Ernest and the dog are like driving over the troll with the truck. I laughed pretty good there. That was pretty funny.
That was a good one. I That was another scene where the troll is pulling them that I was like, "Oh man, I remember this as a kid." Uh the next one that makes me laugh is so so they go to Eartha Kitt to find out what to do. And the kids walk in as she's telling them stuff, and they think that she's telling him that they need a human sacrifice, which is not
Oh
the
yeah,
case. And they're like,
heart of a child will defeat the troll, and she's like, "Oh, we need to cut a kid's heart out." It's like, woo,
yeah.
going straight for the literal interpretation.
And they're like, "You're not going to kill a kid, are you, Ernest?" And he was like, "Human sacrifice will definitely be a last resort." And I laughed at that one because he did not imply that it was off the table. He just said it with such confidence.
Hey, I mean, you gotta do what you gotta do. What if it was not metaphor? Like, what if this incantation was not metaphorical? What if it was literal? You literally need to hold the heart of a child to defeat the troll. In a movie that's this scary at points, I wouldn't put it past it.
Yeah. So, as the kids are going home, there's three kids that hang out with Ernest. One of them immediately gets picked off by the troll because you have to have immediate stakes.
Sorry, nerdy kid.
Sorry, nerdy
Troll
kid,
bait now.
whose name I don't even really know if we get until after he's abducted.
I want to say it's Joey, but I'm not looking it up.
It is Joey, but like I don't know if we really knew Joey that well until the parents were like, Joey's missing.
Yeah. The police in this town, like, okay, kids start going missing, and the police are not concerned enough.
At all. And it's like they're
No.
kids' friends, like kids that they know, and they're like, eh.
It's like you saw Joey hours ago. Like you know Joey. Go freaking save Joey. Go save him. And he's like, oh, no, you guys are crazy. All of you parents who are complaining that your children are missing, get more cops.
I
Like,
loved
you're the
also.
only cop in this town. Get more cops.
There is a whole thing where there's like nine angry people yelling at the cop in the sheriff's office, and it's all about like missing kids and stuff. And then there's this one old guy who's like, and my trash hasn't been picked up in 2 days. And I'm like, read the room, sir. All of these people have missing children.
Hey, it's trash. You don't want it laying around. You get raccoons.
I was just like, wow, okay. I guess there is always that one person, but like, it is was like ridiculous. So the troll's weakness is milk, and they really telegraph this throughout like the entire movie.
It takes them way too long to figure it out. Like at one point, like they have the joke of, oh, there's a letter missing. What does this say? And they think it's Miak. We have a long joke about Miak, which is the thing one of the things I remember from this movie the most clearly is like they're obviously referring to milk. Just get to it, and they do the whole like milk. We got to get all the milk we can get to fill up our water guns, which is something you see in a lot of vampire kids versus vampire movies too. Using the holy water. It
Yeah.
felt like it was very, very reminiscent of kid vampire movies in that way. But yeah,
So
pretty well
then,
telegraphed.
yeah, but like like he's covered in milk. He knocks over the milk. He hides behind a milk truck. There's just so many times, and it's just like, will you please pick up on this? But then we get to the
It's
scene.
not foreshadowing at this point.
Yeah, it is. You are slapping it across the face. Um, at this point, like he gets knocked through an ice cream cart and is covered in ice cream, so the troll can't get to him and runs away. And literally on the cart, in focus, is just this giant sign that says "milk." And it's just they're like, I wonder why he ran away, and I'm like, mm-hmm.
Oh, come on, guys. It was in the book. It was in the book that you found. Or they didn't know that yet. I don't remember. I watched this movie yesterday.
Yeah.
Oh, I gotta remember this movie at all.
So then we get to the
You know.
scariest part of the movie, which is the troll under the bed.
Oh my god,
And
that's so
so
scary.
this girl is freaked out about the troll. Her mom's just like, "There's nothing under your bed. I'm not looking under your bed. Get ready, we're going out." And so she
Bad
goes
parenting. You always look under that bed. You always do.
and she leans over and she looks under the bed and she sees it's just a teddy bear. So she comes back up and she hugs it and she rolls over and the troll is on the other side of the bed. And it's just like this close up of its face and it just haunted me for years.
I mean, like, I have to give the director credit. That's really scary. And I also, like, have been haunted by that image for a long time. I got nervous thinking about it when I first put this movie on. I'm like, am I actually going to be able to handle this movie? It's like I'm almost 40. Should be able to handle this movie.
The answer was
Um,
yes.
yeah, and I was fine this time, but I was like, I was nervous about that scene because it scared me so much as a 6-year-old.
Yeah,
Because it's not
same.
even that it's not even just that it's scary. It's that you have that moment of like, oh my, she's safe. It's fine. There's a breath, and then oh, jump scare.
The
And
pacing is great.
it's a brilliantly effective jump scare. Like there's just so many jump scares in horror movies are terrible. This is a brilliantly executed jump scare. This might be the best jump scare in all of cinematic history. I'm saying that now. We can put that on the Wikipedia.
So
Certified.
I think the biggest shame is that the director, John Cherry III, directed all the Ernest movies. He wrote and directed all the Ernest movies. That's like what he did with his career. And I'm just like, why didn't he do more horror? Like you learned even trying to make a kids movie, you learned you do horror too good. Why wasn't there more horror?
Yeah, it's funny to see that he built it, like seemingly built his entire career off of directing Jim Varney movies. Which you think like, oh, after Jim Varney died, oh, he still did plenty after Jim Varney died.
He did a bunch of
Uh,
shorts about a guy called Denton Rose, but like
yeah.
that's
Wonder if
really
that was like his attempt at making a new Ernest or something. I'm
yeah,
not gonna
it
watch.
seems like it like Jim Varney died and he was like I need to keep this going and he it just didn't take off.
Yeah. Oh, he did a Laurel and Hardy movie. Oh, that's
Yeah.
sad. That's a bad choice. Well, I mean, he must have done fine making Ernest movies, but yeah, he could have made a straight horror and it would have been good. Like he would have made a good straight horror movie.
That's what I'm
Even if just like
saying. It's such a shame that he didn't.
no, even if you take this premise, you take out all of the goofy kid stuff, like still have it this troll is preying on children. Um Take out like the slapstick comedy elements and maybe even just lightly comedic. This could have been a perfectly fine straight horror movie. Absolutely.
Yeah, this could have been Troll 3. You could have actually had a good troll movie.
Yeah, it absolutely could have been a troll movie. Where were we in the plot?
Little girl was
We were at
just
the little
taken.
girl scene, and
So
what happened?
then, after he takes the little girl, he goes after the main guy and he does the thing where he mimics her voice and tries to lure him into like the woods through one of those big like underground metal like pipes.
Yeah, it's not. I think it's like part of a service tunnel. I don't know what that those things are, but you see
I
them in movies when there's a construction site. They always have one of these giant metal
It's for
tubes.
drainage and stuff. It's like
Oh,
underground.
okay.
So
The sewage system.
they I remember as and I saw it as a kid and that this messed me up about that stuff more than it did. Um
Hmm.
but I remember the park by me was getting like major construction as a kid and they had all of them and like in the same like setup and it freaked me out. I wouldn't go near them.
Oh, because you don't know if the troll's behind you. So then the
Yes.
troll is trying to get the main kid, or I don't think really he doesn't really seemingly care who he's getting. He just wants any
He just
children.
needs
So then
kids.
he takes the other kid who's with him, who I don't know was that kid in the movie before that point? I have no recollection of that kid being anywhere else in this movie.
I
The kid
don't
that he
think
takes at this
so.
point. No, that's just some random kid.
Just a
But
rando.
it's a solid power, turning people into wood. I like that the troll has a pretty well defined power set. He has some degree of super strength. He's got the voice mimic. He can turn people into wood. It's pretty. I mean, it's a formidable villain.
Yeah, And he's very durable.
Yeah. Strength and vulnerability, voice change, turn people into wood. You could put this guy in a Batman comic
Oh
and
yeah.
have Batman have to go up against him. That would be solid. That's a solid matchup. That's a solid matchup. Any of your sort of like horror themed DC superheroes? Oh yeah, like against Swamp Thing. Oh man, the Ernest scared stupid troll versus Swamp Thing. That's a fight. That's a good fight.
I like it.
A better movie than this.
So he gets the fifth kid, and he does it at the school in front of all the adults that haven't believed this the whole movie. And so now all the adults in town are like, oh man, there's a troll.
Oh, look at this troll. Like the two on man salespeople. There's the two salesmen in town who are like, Ernest thinks there's a troll on the loose. We're gonna sell Ernest a whole bunch of bullshit troll gear that they had on
That's been my
hand.
problem since I was a kid. I was like, you just had something that says troll spray on it? That's like a real label. You didn't write that on a can.
Even if you could believe that they had a printer in the back that was able to do that, how did they get like the Troll Romance album? They had like a vinyl record that they
Yeah.
sold him of like troll music. I'm like, you just had this in an army surplus store? This doesn't make. I remember as a kid, I'm like, that doesn't even make any sense. That's when the comedy in this movie is at its worst, and it just doesn't make any logical sense. Which is it just seems like a ridiculous criticism to have of an Ernest movie. Is he gonna get to camp? I don't know.
Yeah, it's weird that a movie can make like this can make you ask questions.
Yeah, we shouldn't be. We shouldn't. Our minds should not wander enough to be asking these questions in these movies.
I agree.
Uh, so yeah, so now he has enough souls. He can take all of his wooden statues. He turns Ernest Dog into wood too.
He does. He turns Rimshot into a dog.
Rimshot into wood. Rimshot is a dog.
Sorry, yeah, into a wooden dog.
So a
And
wooden dog.
so the, Ernest goes to the tree to save the kids. All the adults in town form like a weird lynch mob and go out to fight this troll with nothing. Like they don't gear up or anything. Some of them even bring more children to the lynching, which is
It's
just
such a
bad
bad plan.
parenting.
They don't have a plan. They just we got to chase this troll into the woods. Let's bring literally everyone. And then it's just panic. Because now, like, the troll is able to achieve his goal. He's able to raise his army of trolls. And now we have all these trolls running around the woods, like, attacking humans. But not seemingly using their. I don't know if maybe not all trolls have the ability to turn humans into wood. Because if they could all turn humans into wood, like, this fight is over pretty quickly. But they don't seem to be doing that. So it's really just, like, hand to hand combat against these trolls. But it's the adults. Everybody's just running around in a complete panic. I'm like, why don't you leave the woods? There's no reason that you need to stay here. Just run if you're afraid of these trolls.
Yeah, it's like you thought
But
there
no.
was going to be one troll. There's now 25 trolls. It's pure pandemonium is my note here, and this is where my third laugh of the movie was because Ernest is up in the treehouse doing his thing. And the tide of the battle has turned, and the adults are all getting the crap kicked out of them by trolls. And he looks around and he goes, "Oh no, they're gonna blame this on me." And it's just the absurdity of it in that moment. It worked perfectly. It was one of those again things where it was like, oh, I like B. I think that's where I realized I like B horror potentially because of this, because that was like
Mhm.
such a weird like army of darkness type of moment.
Yeah, I for all the negatives I would have to say about this movie, and there's a lot. Jim Varney he was very good.
He was
Jim Varney was great.
when he jumps between all the characters because he I don't if you've never seen an Ernest movie or a Jim Varney bit, he is a character actor, but he has like four different women, like five different men. He has an old like British hunter. He has like a military guy. He has a prim and proper like socialite.
Just he's kind of like got a Robin Williams thing going on where he's
Yeah.
switching out between all these different characters, but he really brings each one of them to life.
And when he does it, it's not
Good.
in a Robin Williams way. It's actually like it cuts to him in full regalia for whatever persona he's in for that line.
It
Um,
means everybody's like waits around for him to do a costume change during a bit.
it
That's really.
is, it's good. You're right. He had a lot more range than I think he was ever given credit for.
I think that was one of like his. He kept going back to do more Ernest stuff because I mean, like he knew
It
that
paid the
was
bills.
paid the bills, but I think he would have. I think he wanted to be recognized as more than that. It's a shame that really to this day, when we think of Jim Varney, we think of Ernest. Even if you go onto his IMDb page, like his profile picture is not Ernest. I think it's probably from like Beverly Hillbillies or something, but it's just like that's who he wanted to be. He died way too young.
He died
It
at
was sad that
51. It was super sad. He was Slinky Dog in Toy Story. Like, he had big roles. He was in Disney's Atlantis.
Mm.
Like,
Another underrated gem.
yeah. So, he was really, really good. Ernest started off initially as a TV commercial personality.
Oh, that's right.
And then, like, that did so well that he got, like, a few, like, segments on other shows. And then he got, like, a special. And, like, it just kept building until suddenly Disney gave him, like, a 5 movie deal.
Until this movie,
Until
and they
this
were like, "Oh
movie
no,
where they broke the
no, we're done."
deal because
Yeah,
it scared the kids too
did so
much.
poorly. I mean, like it was such a commercial flop that they're like, okay, we're out of the Ernest business. And then he had to move on.
And the thing is, it wasn't that much of a commercial flop. They made $5 million on a $9 million movie, which in Hollywood is still a failure, but it's not actually like a giant failure. Like, it made its money back plus profit.
Okay, so it made it's 9 million plus another five.
Yeah, so it's not a commercial failure. It's not like they dropped 10 million on it and it made 5 and they just had to eat 5 million. Like, it pulled in money. It just didn't pull in enough money. They expected it to make like 15 million. So, anyway, he's really good. Died way too young. And he really, when he's in the treehouse, gets to kind of flex his comedic and acting muscles. Um, and then, they go through. The big final fight is very Killer Clowns from Outer Space because all the trolls that he summons for the final fight look like the clowns from Killer Clowns from Outer Space.
Yeah, there was a rumor for a long time that they just reused the masks and they repainted them, but according to the special effects guys who put all those together, they didn't. It was just they did look very similar. Some of the ones that had to have reused certain elements because I know there's one with like a big bulbous nose and a big round head. I'm like that looks very much like a killer clown.
Yeah, well, one of the things I read is they that one of the reasons they did it is because that was they all the monsters they made were based on the sketches from the director,
Mm.
and I think it was like, oh yeah, we know how to do that. Like,
Yeah, I mean, they nailed it.
yeah. So I mean, there's a good chance the director watched Killer Clowns and was just like, that's the template I want for the trolls. Which again, immediately should have been a red flag for this is going to scare children.
Yeah, because Killer Clowns, that was another one that I had a hard time with as a kid. I couldn't really watch it. It was too scary for me.
Yeah.
So the troll does some like he calls upon the power of the demons. Like he's doing some sort of demonic ritual and he goes full super shredder. It gets like double troll powers. I don't know. He gets more like tendrils or something.
He gets
Spikes,
horns, it looks like.
horns and tendrils and makes him even grosser. I think the initial design is better.
Yes. I always thought
Initial
he was
design
less
is better.
scary after.
After he gets his like demon upgrade, it's a little too much. It's not a good transformation. He just looks. The design becomes way too busy. I don't like the way that it looks. Then Ernest realizes again. This is another one of those situations where it's like Ernest versus the troll. Everybody kind of who's in the scene, which is a lot of people, because it's the entire town, has decided like, oh, Ernest is going to take care of this. Let's all stand on the sidelines.
Well, there is a ring of fire.
Is there fire?
Yeah, the troll he puts a giant ring of fire around the tree so no one can get through to help Ernest.
They could have gotten through it. If the if it was like up against a troll, like a troll trying to take over a world, and there was a ring of fire, you'd run through that fire, right, to fight the troll?
Well, you see a few people like go to like jump it, but anytime anyone gets near it, it actually flares up in that area.
Right, fair enough. I think they could have tried harder.
I mean,
That's when
yeah, the cop had a gun.
yeah, shoot the troll. Like I mean, like if the troll was initially again at the beginning of the movie, and the ancestors should have written this down, they were able to stop the troll with a sack and some chains. He's not all powerful, and it's good that they defeat him completely so that the children stop being wood. Like if they just want to like tie him up while they figure out what to do, that's viable. That can be done. It happened earlier without seemingly that much fuss. Like I mean,
Apparently,
like
that
obviously they had
net
to set things up, but
that
they
net and
had
the
a net and
chains
the
will
net
hold
worked.
him for a while.
Centuries.
Yeah,
Because I mean, when he was under the tree, like he wasn't unconscious, unless maybe when the preacher's speech finished, he fell asleep or something. But like all that time, he was never able to escape the chains because the tree wasn't like growing around him initially. You know, it takes a while for that to happen. The logic of the movie is flawed, is what I'm trying to tell you.
yeah.
But Ernest figures out that he needs to provide the troll with unconditional love. I don't know that that would even really count because it's not like he loves the troll. He just figures out
He
that if he
just acts
dances,
like a parent.
yeah, he acts like a parent to the troll. Like, and somehow that works. Which he doesn't love the troll. He's trying to kill it. So there's a little bit of a logic flaw there. It makes the troll explode. Which is our happy ending. Then all the children stop being wood.
Yeah, including the colonial kids who now like, great, you're not wood anymore, but like you now live in 1991. It's been 300 years.
For some unknown length of time. They're better off though. I mean, like it sucks that their families have all grown old and died, except for the kid who's still around, but presumably not for much longer because the magic should be over now. Um, you're better off, especially the black kids. They were
They
better off
are
in the
they're
1990s.
absolutely better off in the 90s, but because they're black kids who are like 10, they're probably way behind on their education.
Oh yeah. Oh man. And what would they do for like a social security? That happens in a lot of movies. Like the children from the past will be transported to modern times. They don't have social security numbers. How are they going to get enrolled in school?
Yeah.
What do they? What happens to these kids? Or does the town just have to like?
Make it up.
Yeah, the town because the town knows this is all very well documented. I wonder if you can you call the government and be like, oh, we need to get social security numbers for these kids. It's like, oh, are they illegal immigrants? It's like, oh no, they were born in the United States. They're citizens. They're just from 100 years ago.
They actually were
And
born here before it was the United States.
oh man, that could cause some complications. Because there was in the Constitution, it originally stated that like if you lived in the United States at the time of the signing of the Constitution, you are automatically granted citizenship. But I think they eventually took that out because it was no longer applicable. So hopefully those kids would get kind of grandfathered in on that. Imagine the paperwork. They'd have to come up with new forms.
Oh yeah.
What kind of like how do they prove this in a court? Like we got to take this to court so we
Well,
can
I
get the
mean,
proper citizenship for these kids. It's like, oh, what happened? Well, there's a troll attack.
the mayor
I don't,
and the
I don't,
sheriff were there. I feel like they can, talk to the local hospital or whatever, get these kids social security cards.
they're gonna have to do something, right? And it's not like they could get deported either. They're not from anywhere. They're from here. They're from 1800s Missouri. It's gonna be a big problem for them. But I hope they like living with Eartha Kitt.
It's going to be a Johnny Dangerously situation.
Yeah, they would probably get so depressed. Just like, oh, everything I've ever known is gone.
Yeah.
I was wood for untold centuries. I was a piece of wood. I wonder if like were there other times when this troll attempted
Are there like
this?
Viking children that just woke
Are
up in a
there other
tree?
children around the world? Yeah, that probably happened from other attempts at this takeover. Or any other time that he turned people into wood. Because I mean, he turned the dog into wood, and that wasn't part of his like master plan. He just like,
He
I need
just
to get this
could.
dog out of my way. I'm gonna turn the dog into wood. So presumably, there's been times when he's used his wood power not as part of the grand scheme to take over the world, which means there's probably like museums that have like, oh, look at these ancient carvings we found where like children are just like turning into back into people and are trapped inside museums. There's some dark
That's
implications.
that's actually even more horrifying because like 90% of museums' collections aren't on display. They're in dry storage.
Yeah, so they're just like waking up inside drawers.
In a dark crate, like Raiders of the Lost Ark top men style, in like the sub basement of the Met.
Yeah, and they're like, and they're gonna have to like go find security,
Oh,
and
they're not
they're
getting out of that
hundreds.
crate.
Oh, they're gonna suffocate.
They're
Oh
gonna
my
die in
god,
that crate.
yeah, thinking about this more about this movie.
Those vaults are locked. Like no one's gonna hear them. That was the middle of the night.
Wow. Well, if the troll came from Europe, it could be daytime in Europe.
That's true if they're in a European museum.
At any rate, like those kids are still screwed. It's not a good situation for those kids who have all just been woken up after centuries of being wood, and they have no context for what's happening because they're not at the battle. Like the kids who meet up with Eartha Kitt's at least able to be like, "Hey, here's what happened."
It's over.
Yeah, the kids who are at the other museums and other locations, they're going to be speaking languages that are probably long forgotten, trying to like communicate with a museum curator, like if they're not locked in a crate. Yeah, what's the future for them? I don't know. It's awful. Awful when you
Bleak.
think about it.
Okay, well, I guess final thoughts on this. Yeah, we got through the ending. Final thoughts on this are I had such fond memories of this movie. Again, it's like it's one of the things that made me want to do this podcast. And now that I've rewatched it, and I kind of regret having rewatched it because it had held like such a high place in my mind, and now like going back and it not being as good or as scary as I remember it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, it doesn't. The veneer is gone. You realize that it was scary because you were a kid, and now you've watched it as an adult, and you're like, oh, this is not what I remembered it being. I'm glad to have rewatched it so that I could finally like put that part of me, that 6-year-old who's still scared of that jump scare, I could put that to rest.
Yes, a
Like I
hundred
don't have to be
percent.
afraid. I don't have to be afraid of this movie anymore. Like the part of me that was always a little nervous when it came on because I remember being little and being so scared of it. Like I could finally say that that is over. Here, 31 years later, how many years it's been.
The nightmare's over.
The nightmare's over. I can finally rest easy not having to worry about this troll. Because you know what? The troll could be defeated by a sack. But so could I. I mean, what am I going to do against a sack and chains? I can't do
I
anything.
mean, a net sack and chains have been around for millennia for a reason.
Yeah, no, I mean, the good stuff gets it done. Like, it's effective. Yeah, I don't feel the need to rewatch this movie. I'm not gonna let my kid watch it because I think it would traumatize her like it did to me. Um, I think we could let Ernest Scared Stupid go. It was just a couple of points in either direction, a little less scary or a lot scarier, and this would have been good, but it could not find the right balance.
Yeah, it was. It's too kid focused for me to enjoy it as an adult, and it's too scary to not give me nightmares as a child.
Yeah. Sorry, Ernest Scared Stupid. You're not getting my recommendation for next Halloween.
Yeah, sorry. Can't say I recommend.
But you know what we can recommend that people do is find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at RTSpiritsPod.
All right. Thanks for joining us throughout all of spooky season, and
Yeah.
I can't believe it's over. I feel like we've been
Another
building up to
Halloween
it.
come and gone.
We've been building up to it since like August.
Yeah, I like this build up though. I think I think we launched a lot of we went over a lot of good classic movies.
Oh,
And Hocus
absolutely.
and Hocus Pocus 2, a new one. We'll have to do something like this again for next year.
100%. We've got a lot of time to plan.
Oh, that's true. 364 days.
We've got like 25 more episodes until Halloween.
Oh my goodness.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us. I'm
We'll see you next
Steve.
time. I'm Sam. Ah, I tripped all over your
Every
outro
time.
every time. I love you, Steve.
Love you too, Sam. Bye.
Bye, everybody.